Hello, fans, and welcome to another episode of High and Tight. I'm John Nolan, the PBR Virginia DC Content Manager and Northern Virginia Scouting Director, and I am joined by PBR Virginia DC Scouting Director Jason Burton, coming to you from outside of the Richmond area. Today, we are going to do one of a series of shorter episodes that are going to focus on the many things that we have had happen over the last couple of weeks and months that we need to go over and discuss. Included in these will be a full rankings updates, class of 2024, 2025, 2026, our unsigned senior games breakdown, the pro case breakdown. We'll have an upcoming slate of fall tournaments, scout days, and then ultimately, eventually, at the end of the season, we'll have the Mid-Atlantic Fall State Games. So a lot coming down the pipe here on this. All right, and today we are going to dive into the updated 2025 rankings, which have run over the last few days and week on the website as we continue our rankings updates. We've done 24s, we've done 25s, 26s will be next. So the class of 2025 was featured this year at the 2023 Future Games. Team Mid-Atlantic was exclusively made up of members of the 2025 class. So we have spent a lot of time locked in on some of these players recently, and a lot of them have had a chance to stand out. Jason, any general notes on the updated class of 2025 rankings you care to share?
Oh, yeah. Um, we're we're in the I say we're in the home stretch. You made it through all of the profiles, and right now just kind of sorting things. I know we're doing this pod just a couple days ahead of the rankings release, so we're still kind of sorting some things through. But we're almost there. We're expanding from I believe we're expanding from 175 to 200. We will have a follow list as well, um, a 50 to follow list. Guys that are just outside and we think can make a jump and are quality players. So yeah, so it's a lot coming.
All right, so like you said, a lot coming. So let's go ahead and go risers. We've had some movement up at the top. We've got one big riser each we want to talk about. Bert, I'm going to go ahead and let you take the layup and slam dunk here.
Yeah, I am going to take the layup with Miles Church, Miles Church, Miles Upchurch. Sorry, Miles. Um, he uh, he continues to impress. Of course, the one outing that I saw, the velo was down a little bit, and it was probably his one off day that he had, and he wasn't bad that day. He just wasn't. I think what Cam had seen when he went out to see him, and what he had been essentially every other start. He got the ball in every big start for St. Albans this year. 6'4", 215. Velo's easy. He was 90 to 93 at area code. Their starter profile there, I want to say it's a 3 to 4 pitch mix. Like I said, it comes pretty easy to him. It's a big frame. It's durable. There's a ton to like. It is effortless. Um, I just I really like the starter upside, and I think that's what really pushed him over some big velo arms that were in front of him. There were some left-handers, and there were some guys who had run it up with some comparable velo. But the big thing for him is just I think he has a chance. The body will hold up, and the stuff will hold up as well to go extended outings.
And I will add this: Upchurch reopened his recruiting here early in the summer. He was a Maryland commit, but with the former Maryland head coach taking the Alabama job, Upchurch opened himself back up. So he is the top uncommitted player in our updated 2025 rankings. Should be a pretty big feeding frenzy for a power arm like that, I would think, right, Bert?
If you're not in on that one, you might want to get in.
For sure. All right, big jumper I'm going to talk about here is one of our future games. Team Mid Atlantic members Julius Bonarise, shortstop from Colgan High School. Julius, as I said, was with Team Mid Atlantic, had an outstanding high school season. Kind of hit early or low in Colgan's order early in the season. Basically, just hit his way into the 2 hole as the season went on. Continued hitting over the summer. It's a left-handed bat. Shows some sneaky pop when he can turn on the ball. At the future games, ran a 6.6. He's got some athleticism. There's a lot of potential left in that frame, so a lot to like with Bannerise. He showed out really well on the Web Flex workout day the at the future games. Didn't have necessarily the greatest results in game offensively, but that's a thing that can happen at an event like that. That doesn't belittle the spectacular summer he had, and he's making a big jump. He's going to be someone that absolutely can stick at shortstop. He's athletic enough. If you're set at shortstop, you can take his bat and you can move him to center field. You can move him to left field. You can play him at second. That speed, that athleticism, that bat's going to play no matter what. It's quick hands. He throws that barrel. So I still think as he starts to fill out and gain strength, he's going to keep the athleticism. He's just going to add power and arm strength as he goes. So definitely a big jump and a deserved jump for Bonarise here in this update of the rankings. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's another jump here some point in his future. Again, Julius Bonarise, a shortstop from Colgan, uncommitted right now at this point in time, as we ended up going uncommitted on both of our risers. How about new faces? New faces to the updated rankings. Bert, where do you want to go here?
I'm just going to take another layup. Um, we this is a new face via transfer, I guess you could say. Um, this new player comes to us via South Carolina. So shout out to Sammy Esposito in South Carolina for sending 2025 Evan Amos, who is a NC State commit. Thank you, Sammy, for sending him our way. Um, but no, he's 6'5", long, lean, long arms, 190 pounds is I think what he's listed at. 6'5", 200. Um, it's pretty easy, like build up in the delivery. It's a long, loose arm. It's a lower slot. It's some ride on the fastball. Uh, he's a mid to upper 80s arm. I just like the slot. I like the way the arm works. I have not seen him in person. I want to say he was number 5 in South Carolina in their state rankings at the last update, I believe. Um, yeah, number 4, I think, from the way it looks. Um, so this is a guy coming into the rankings in Virginia that I'll get out to see hopefully this fall at PDG. He's coming to PDG in Fredericksburg. And yeah, just welcome to Virginia. I'm excited to get out and see Evan Amos, 25, NC State commit.
All right. I'm also going to kind of go with a layup here on a new guy coming into our rankings. I'm going to talk about Tuscarora left-handed pitcher slash first baseman, but really just left-handed pitcher Ashton Peschke, a recent Maryland committing here over the last month or so to the University of Maryland. I saw a lot of Tuscarora during the high school season. I did not see Peschke pitch. I must have seen them 4 or 5 times. Cowan would start one day and he'd go 6 innings, and then senior Cole Keel would come in, start the next day, probably go 6 innings. And then the shortstop, Bauer Burkhart, would pop in and close them out. And that was their formula all season long. Maybe there were some innings that Peschke threw. They just weren't games that I got a chance to see. He's really popped over the summer. We saw him at a scout day early in the summer. It's a long, tall, lanky frame, 6'1", 160. He's got some really long arms, really high hips. It is an extremely low slot, almost flat sidearm. We've had him up to 86 at events. We've heard maybe a tick more. From that arm slot, that is just nasty and a really tough out for a left-handed pitcher. There's a ton of projection left in the frame. The arm works, so there's a chance to continue adding ticks where he's a guy who might be able to step into Cole Keel's innings as the rich apparently at Tuscarora just get richer. You're going to go from having Cowan throwing one game filthy lefty to having Peschke throwing the next game filthy lefty this year, and then and then you got Quill in the middle of the lineup. It's a pretty good time going on up there at Tuscarora, so I'm sure I will probably see him this year, and I am looking forward to it. So that's the new face here, Ashton Peschke from Tuscarora, recent Maryland commit. Let's go ahead and jump to our last category here. One to keep an eye on for our next update, which might be here probably, November we're thinking on the next update, or is it going to be next spring?
No, as much as I would like for it to be next spring, it will be November. Um, yeah, it'll be November, and then one, if I'm not mistaken, one before. potentially one right before the high school season. I'm not
Yeah, I
maybe
feel
it's
like it's usually right after February events in early March, right when we're trying to scramble and put out high school previews.
yeah. Um,
All
but
right,
yeah,
guy you think to keep an eye on for?
yeah. Another kind of layup. Clayton Arma. Clayton has made a jump into the top 10. He was in the top 10 and he slid a little bit, and now he's moving back up. The biggest part is the biggest thing is Clayton made a nice jump in velo this summer, or showed some of the arm strength this summer. When I got a chance to see him during the high school season, he was working in the 84 to 86 range. I think by the third or fourth inning, he was in the 83, 85 range. Um, which, it's not super concerning, but obviously you want to see some of the arm strength, because again, like we talked about earlier, he is a right-hander. But I do think that there's some starter profile there. It's easy. It's super high waist. He's all legs. Um, he started to fill out a little bit, but there's still plenty of room for him to fill. 6'4", 180, arms and legs. He was up to 89. I think he was up to 89 at area code. I think the secondary still has work. He throws it for strikes. I'm not like the shape. The shape and the stuff doesn't necessarily blow me away, but probably more impressive than the shape and the stuff, and the spin and the sweep and all of those other things, is the fact that he faces high level competition. He's the premier arm for St. John's. He did the big circuit events all summer long, all across the country, and he competes and wins, or gives your team a chance to win every single time out. He throws strikes. Uh, he'll move it in and out. He'll move it up and down. He'll add and subtract. He'll spin for strikes. He'll throw changeups for strikes. Again, there's starter profile there. I think the place that he can go is obviously he gets up to and it's there, but when he gets to the 91, the 92, where he's working in the 88 to 91 range, and if he can tighten up the spin and he can add a little bit more depth and kind of clean up the secondary and let the secondary take the next step, I think is where he is going to make that next jump. Again, not only in rankings, but as he gets closer to conversations, towards the end of next spring and stuff like that, when it comes to pre-draft events and getting on boards.
All right, I'm gonna cross the river, stick in Northern Virginia here, but I am gonna look at a guy who I think's got an upside. I'm gonna go a little farther down the board on our current rankings. I want to talk about right-handed pitcher Mason Sproat from Light Ridge. Sproat's an interesting guy. His eighth grade summer, his freshman fall, he had an outstanding summer, was getting some good looks. We had him super highly ranked, and unfortunately, he got hurt. He had Tommy John's the thing that happens to kids now. He had Tommy John during the winter of his freshman year. So last year during the high school season as a sophomore, he was 14, 15 months post-op with his first outings. We saw him a couple times. There were some interesting things. He's got a physical 6'2 frame. There's some strength present. He's got some lower body strength as well. There's some arm action there. Breaking ball shows a little shape. He was showing that mid 80s velocity. I think it was 83, 85 when you saw him his first outing. I saw him later in the season. It was 82, 84. And then just as you continue to build those innings and get farther and farther post-op, things tend to get better and better and better. So I would really look forward to maybe getting a chance to see him this fall, see where he's at after another 6 months post-op, and then even eventually see where he is next spring with a full uninhibited off season to go ahead and build strength, to go through a velo program, those kinds of things. And I really think there's a chance for big velo jump, big rankings jump. Really curious to see. He was up to 86 in late June at the 16U National Championship. So I think there's a lot there. The frame, the size, the strength, the build, it screams starter profile, starter frame, guy who can hold an innings load for me. So I would really want to just see if he can make that velo jump, continue to maintain that health. That's the biggest thing for him, is to just have a healthy season, get into a healthy off season. So I'm really looking forward to, again, seeing him this fall, seeing where he's been after another 6 months, and just continuing to track him as he continues to get farther away from that surgery. and start to look more and more like the guy that I think everyone believed that he was going to be and still does. Just had that hiccup there in the middle. So Mason Sproat's a guy I'm really keeping an eye out for from Light Ridge High School. Right-handed pitcher. Will be really interesting to see where he is going forward. Any closing notes on the 2025 rankings before we wrap up here, Bert?
No, just a note on Sproat. In September of 2021, I guess is when he was coming into his ninth grade year, maybe.
Yeah,
Um,
that's right.
he was 84, 85, touched 86 at a tournament in September. Um, and it was pretty easy. It was kind of effortless. I'm watching the video now. I think I see another one of 2021 where he was up to 87. Um, it's there, like you said. I think it's just him getting comfortable, getting back into the swing of things, not rushing things along. It stinks. Obviously for everybody, for him and and everybody involved. But I think it's a guy who will gradually get back up there, and in due time will get back on track with where he was kind of projected to be. Um, so hopefully this year when I go see him or when you go see him, it's not bitter cold like when I went up there last year.
Well, I got a feeling we're gonna have to see Nunnally a couple different times, so we'll see. And drink wine for that matter too. They've got some good things going on at Light Ridge too.
It's a great name, outstanding.
Drink wine, yes, for sure. He didn't totally get the joke when you said that to him at state games, by the way.
No, and I'm not sure if Ben remembers that. I told him he shouldn't have any issues getting married or finding a significant other with the last name Drink Wine. And he looked at me like I
All
was.
right. Any other general notes on those 25 ranks? 26 is coming up. State
26,
games around the corner.
yeah, 26 is coming up. No 27s until November. Um, I yeah, we don't we don't run things out quite as early as some others. We try to let kids get into high school and allow kids a little bit more time to develop as much as possible. But yeah, 27s will come in November. 26s will be updated. Obviously, they'll continue to expand a little bit um, as we continue to get a better grasp on the class. And just get more eyes on guys. The only other thing I'll say, state games coming up November 4th and 5th. If you are interested and you haven't requested an invite, you may want to do that in the first 48 hours outside of players that were invited on our end. In the first 48 hours, we had 175 requests or over 175 requests. Um, we've already put out one wave of approvals, um, waiting to put out some others. Um, and it is filling up quickly. In the first 2 days, we had over 40 registrations, and we will cap this event right around 150. So this is an event that will sell out sooner rather than later.
No, absolutely for sure. I'm going to echo that here in a second. So, generally, that's going to be a wrap on this episode. We will have plenty more coming up over the next few weeks. Also, here starting in September, we've got a series of scout days, travel program, high school program scout days. We do still have limited dates available for your high school or travel program. If you want to schedule a scout day with us, get in touch with Burton or myself. We also have a series of tournaments. We got 4 weekends in a row starting mid-September, running up through Columbus Day weekend. 3 of them in Richmond, 1 of them at Patriot Park North in Northern Virginia. Look for all of our coverage of that. We'll roll some of that stuff into the pod too, I'm sure. And then, as Bert said, 2023 is going to cap up for us here at the Mid-Atlantic Fall State Games. Be our third straight year on that first weekend in November at War Memorial in Hampton. This event has sold out 2 years in a row, and it will sell out early again this year. We're hard capping it, like he said, at 150. And we might be at that number pretty quickly. So if you're interested in being at our biggest fall event, please hustle, request your invite. Otherwise, I think that's all we have for you guys today, and we'll see you out there.